That works really well. Oh, I love it. Hello, drone racers. I'm Mark, and today on Drone Racer 101, we are either going to improve or ruin these two models. What do they have in common? Pretty much nothing. This is an ET125 that we flew outside. This is the one that I let Aiden fly, and this is a brand new F36 that I got when they were available for a discount code of $6. I bought 4 of them. So I don't mind ruining one of those. This one I don't want to. But how am I going to do that? Well, with this to start out with. This is an MG Chemicals silicone conformal coating. Conformal coating is basically waterproofing, and it's dangerous. What we're going to do is coat pretty much all the electronics except for the motors and the camera lens with this, because this is what it looks like outside right now. Isn't it pretty? It's gorgeous, and I don't want to ruin all my models in it. So I am going to waterproof this drone. I think the ET125 is a really good option for this because partially it's already covered over quite a bit. It's pretty well sealed, but there were a couple issues with this that I think we want to improve. Most of which we've already done to my ET100, which I fly around inside the house a lot. But this one I want to fly outside, and it has 2 things that we need to do. One, we're going to follow the instructions right here and set up DSHOT on this. So I'm not going to go into all the details on that again, but I am going to show you one improvement for this, that it's actually easier than it is in those. You don't have to go through quite so many steps. And then we're also going to upgrade the camera, but I'm not going to upgrade it the same as I did in that video. Instead of the Runcam Nano, I'm going to use this. This is an FTX T80, and it's basically the same as a Nano. It's the same size, it's the same-ish form factor, but it has this extra red wire, and that is for an on-screen display. This will read the voltage from your battery and give you an on-screen display built into this for voltage, which I don't care so much about inside, so I'm not worried about it on my 100 that I fly inside. But outside, I really want to know because I might be further away, and I don't want to go walking through the snow to chase after it. So that will help me not kill my battery, theoretically, even though I seem to always do that anyway, even with an on-screen display. So in this video, we're going to conformal coat this also and install it in here. So we're going to set up DSHOT 600 and add a new camera with an on-screen display. So what's this for? Well, I've never done waterproofing before, so this is going to be my experimental test bed. We're going to just conformal coat this and abuse it a little bit in the process for science. While we're at it, if you watch my ET125 video, you'll see that I broke one of the protectors here. I don't think you can break the smaller ones, but on the big one I did break it, and they're probably going to be even more fragile out in the snow and the cold. But it is a really easy process to fix these. I did it in about 30 seconds. If you remove the 4 screws on the bottom here, you can lift the motor up, take this out, fit the motor. I didn't even have to take the blades off. Fit them through the protector there, slide a new one on, screw it back on, and you are good to go. So that's another nice thing, is when you do break them, and it's only a couple dollars for the replacements here. Really nice. I love these models. I love them so much, and it's going to be even better with this, I think, I hope, and hopefully I don't ruin it with this. So I'm going to start taking things apart, and I'm going to just show you the important steps here. I'm not going to show you every single little thing that I do, but I'll get it apart so we can take a look and see what we need to coat and what we need to do. So first up, I'm going to coat the F36, but I want to make sure it works first, so I'm just going to plug it in. I would hate to have it not work after coating and not know whether it was because of the coating or not. There we go. Looks good to me. Really just need to coat the circuit board. The motors, we don't need to. So I'm going to coat all of this, and I really don't want to take it off. So I'm just going, I guess with the screws loose, it wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, I've got a screw loose. So not important, but interesting, they actually electrical taped the top of the lid on, just to make sure it didn't come off in shipping, I suppose, which is important. And even just that far, I can already smell it. So I don't know if I need to shake it or not. I put down some cardboard just so I don't ruin everything. Let's see what this looks like. It smells like acetone. I think it does say it's got some of that in it. This brush is pretty terrible, but I guess I just coat it on. I should have a black light somewhere that I can use to verify that it's good and protected. It said it can take 2 coats afterwards, but the black light, there's a blue tint to this to make sure that it works. So part of the reason I'm doing this one, and I can see there in the reflection, I didn't get here. There we go. And I didn't get this edge, even though there's nothing really there. I don't think that would matter. I just want to get it all coated. And what I've not seen consistent is how long it takes to dry. I've seen some people say it takes 30 seconds, but I saw for total effectiveness it takes 24 hours. So I tend to be overly cautious, and we'll probably give it plenty of time. So if you hear me repeating things because I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because I'm taking multiple days to actually do this. It's a lot thinner than I expected it to be, and it's a lot more work to get this all covered. But that looks pretty good now. Okay, so we will just see what that looks like in the morning. So I've started getting it apart, and I got the canopy off and got the camera out so we can take a look at the comparison here. And it does, the base, the back of this is pretty similar. I need to figure out which way orientation is. I think that's probably the top, but we'll figure that out for sure. This did come with instructions, so we'll actually take a look at those, I guess. Depth-wise, it's going to be the same as the Nano. It is going to stick out quite a bit more, and the face plate of it is quite a bit bigger. So what we have to do here is take an X-Acto knife and just chop out a whole bunch of ugly chunks out of the center here until we can fit the camera through. That's obviously the only way to do it. Actually, no, I got a whole bunch of grief for that last time. So I was just playing with it a little bit. I think probably what I'll be able to do, I might not have to trim it at all. I can squeeze that through. That's maybe, yeah, I can squeeze that through without cutting it at all. It looks uncomfortable, but it's going to fit and then pop in place. I don't want to do it yet because I want to do all the wiring first, but I don't think I'm going to have to actually trim that. I probably didn't have to with the other one either. So the next thing I'm going to do is take this stack all the way apart as much as I can because I want to be able to get in here to get everything coated on the top or the bottom. I will solder the wire between the PPM port here and run that around over to right here, the M1 port, and I'm gonna have to clean that off. Last time I soldered that to the bottom here, but I've been told that's not necessary with the commands. That will shut off the commands going to this, and it won't use the signal there. So the PPM port can actually just connect to this top here, which will make it a whole lot cleaner and a lot easier than last time. I won't have to actually take that pin out because it'll pass the signal through that I need. Theoretically, I guess we'll find out. Maybe I should do that before I code it. Yeah, I'm gonna do that before I code it, make sure it works. Okay, so now I have a wire going from PPM to motor 1 just here on the top. So now I'm going to go watch my video. Then we need to go into command line. I'm just going to type resource to start with so we can see all the resources that are being used. And we see motor 1, A04, and PPM, A07. And what we want to do is tie those together. So we're going to do resource, PPM 1, none. And then we'll check that. So now there's no PPM resource, and then we want to do resource motor 1 A07. So now if we do resource again, we can see motor 1 is tied to A7. So we're going to type save. So there we go. Now I've got the commands all run. I've got it set to DSHOT. I've got a battery plugged in, and there we go. That looks good. I have 4 motors, and I have DSHOT. The thing I did notice is this is running 3.16 Betaflight. So I'm going to go ahead and update this. You don't need to see any of that, but I'll get it all updated for BL Heli and Betaflight, and then we will continue on to the next step of taking it apart and coding everything. Here's where things stand right now. I've taken the stack apart, so I've got the flight controller here, which will be really easy to conformal coat, so I will just wipe this all down. I'll get both sides. I'm gonna make sure I don't get these pins. I actually don't want those in this case because I need to make sure those will continue to conduct properly. So I will avoid those pins, get all the rest of it though clean. I'm not gonna worry about the USB port in this case. I've heard mixed results on whether you should coat that or not. I'm going to avoid mine because I'm hoping I just don't get any snow on it anyway. The ESCs I've taken apart all the bottom. This is gonna be one of the hardest parts to get to because this is all connected in here. I'm gonna have to kind of reach up underneath to get the bottom. Just gonna get it coated as much as I can. I've taken off all the pieces underneath. There is a foam block here. This one is stuck on the frame side, so it's fine. This one is stuck to the flight controller, so I'm gonna cut that off or take that off so I can get everything underneath that coated because I don't want anything to get it under. This is one of the parts that will be the most exposed, even though the battery will go here. This part is open. The VTX is actually covered pretty well. Next up, I'm going to connect the camera and resolder this. If you watched my last video, I actually just desoldered the cables off the stock camera and soldered them to my new camera. But I can't do that this time because everything is totally sealed in here. I'd have to cut this off. And actually it just came off on my fingernail, so I might just see if I can take that off, because I would rather solder directly to the board and not have to cut the wires and shrink wrap them and whatnot. Hold on, please. Okay, new plan. This is the original camera, and I'm just gonna cut the wires off of here, and I was able to very easily clean the goop off of the new camera, so I will just solder those wires directly to this camera, making it a nice, much cleaner connection. The other thing I'm gonna do is take the red wire here, and before I conformal coat all of this, I will take the battery connection right here and just add this wire in that spot. So that way I'm able to read the voltage directly off of the battery, which is what this will use for the OSD. Okay, here's a look at the wiring. The camera is all wired up now. I'm just soldered these on here, and be warned, these are really, really tiny pads. That was not an easy soldering job. So take your time, especially the ground and the video seem to be really close to one another. So take your time for that and be very careful. And then as I mentioned, I've got this extra red wire and I've soldered it to the voltage pad on the battery lead connection. So there's the new view on the camera, and it looks really nice and clear. And we have powered on time in the lower left, and the voltage, see if you can see that better, in the lower right. So I am at 7.4 volts, where this battery was at storage voltage when I started, so that's just about right now. So now it's not super obvious, but it's definitely better than nothing that I have voltage. I did also confirm the wires go on the top of the camera. With the OSD cable, you might be able to flip it, but for right now, I just go with the battery wires are on the top. So everything's all apart, everything's all wired, it's all ready to start coding. I actually changed my mind for the receiver, at least for now. What I've done, and I've gone ahead and done that, is I left the plastic on and I just took the tip here and got it plenty wet and just dripped it in the end, and wicking action has actually pulled it through the whole thing. And this is why I've got cardboard now I'm dripping on here. Hopefully that works. I mean, imagine everything that's important is already connected, so it's not going to make those connections worse. And it's going to wick to anywhere that water would, so water would get to the same places that the conformal coating already is. I don't know if it will ever dry being on the inside, but that's what I'm going to try. We'll find out in a little bit if it works or not. The rest of it, though, now I just need to kind of coat all over. As I mentioned, I'm not doing the USB port, not on this one, but I want to get all the rest of it good and covered. And if I ruin it, I will still show you this video just so you know how not to do it. What I heard from these bind buttons, this is the button here for reflashing the flight controller. I've already done that. I've already got it up to date. I don't think I will need that button again as long as I use the same computer, but I've heard if you just push that button enough, it will break the connections enough to make it all good. So I've got that side good now. Just seems so weird just pouring liquid all over your electronics. Okay, there's that. I've got my camera now. I'm gonna be a little more gingerly with the camera because I don't want anything to get inside the lens. So I'm putting this on this board. And this one I think is sealed pretty well. I'm gonna put a coat around the outside here. So I don't want to get it on the lens. And my lens protector came off. Really, really don't want to get it on the lens. Hold on, I'm going to stop and put my lens protector back on. Make sure when you do this, before you start, that your lens protector is on, because if you wipe this on that lens is just going to be smeared forever. Okay, so then we've got the ESCs, which I've heard are the hardest part. They're the part that's most sensitive to still getting wet after the fact. There is enough space in here, though, for me to get to all the components and get them all coated down. I'm probably putting this on way thicker than it actually needs to be, but I don't see that as a problem. I think. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Okay, now everything has a coat on it, so I'm going to let that dry. It's supposed to be tacky in 7 minutes. I'll come back and check it in a little while. Then we'll go on to the next step, which we'll see how it looks and maybe doing it again. Okay, everything is thoroughly coated. It has a nice thick glossy sheen on everything, even the back of the camera. Here you can see on the flight controller, basically everything is coated in a layer of silicone. It'd be really nice. I couldn't find my black light and I don't have time to go get one to see if you're missing any spots. If you have the opportunity to take your time, get a black light and you can take a look at things as you go and make sure you didn't miss any spots before you take it out, because I would hate to just throw this in the snow and have it short out. So now I'm going to start putting everything back together. My square blocks are still on the bottom. I'll show you the important parts as they come up. I'm going to put in the spacers. These were underneath the hole sections, so it provides cushion on the bottom along with the foam. Then the screws will go up from the bottom, and then we'll put this on. I'll go ahead and say it now because I'll probably forget later. This little tab here will go facing down, so the top board screws into this, and it's not quite the same size. It'll just kind of bounce off of the bottom board, providing it a soft mount. So the whole thing's soft mounted really well. That's probably part of the reason this flies really well. I'll get that all through, and then I will worry about the camera here. Okay, this part is by far the hardest, getting these back in. These are the rubber grommets that go underneath the board, and you've got to line it up with this hole and put the screw through the bottom and then through the top. So here's how I ended up doing it, because it took a few tries. I thought I was going to lose it completely, so it's going to be a little hard to see. It is now sitting right there on the board. So what I'm going to do is take my hex driver and feed it through the top here where I can see it really well. There we go. And then feed it into the hole and get that through, and then get that lined up with the top. Then I can flip it over and put the screw on here, line it up, and then just kind of push it through. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm trying not to push on the wires. I don't want to push the ESC wires too hard. They should be soldered on pretty well, but you never know. There we go. Now we have that part of the stack in place. I've got the screws in place. I've got the board, the ESC board in place, the 4-in-1 with everything. Definitely don't want to keep that wire there. I don't want the camera to hang on this wire either, because I don't want it to come off. And I can't just remove the camera anymore because this wire is permanently connected. So now though, I am going to unplug this cord because I need to move the VTX back to the bottom to get it out of the way. Can you tell I'm recording on another day at this point? It's early in the morning. I've now slid the VTX through the bottom. Make sure you do that before you screw anything down, because you do have to pull things out of the way quite a bit to get it back under there, but I've got it back under there and the camera is reconnected. So now we're ready for that next layer. Now for lining up the top board, the flight controller, remember that the power wire is coming out the back. The USB cord is on this side, so that makes it really easy. And then when you look on the bottom, these pins have to line up. So those are probably the trickiest part. I have put one of these boards on before and not had the pins line up. So I would actually look at those first. There we go. See, they're not lined up there. There the pins are lined up. I've got all the wires the way I want them. I want the buzzer coming out the back. Everything else is out of the way acceptably, I think. There we go. I don't see any kinks. I don't see anything catching. And there's plenty of clearance with the ESC wires. I was a little concerned they were catching on this metal plate, but they're not. They're okay. So the first ones I'm going to do are the screws that go into the top here. I found the sizes on all the screws on these were a little weird. So I've got a bigger screwdriver. My really fine screwdriver that I normally use didn't work right. And this one, you can tighten down pretty much all the way. I am totally clear on my wire, there's no problem there. And this can tighten down because it's not tightening against anything, it's just going into this plastic, so it needs to hold on to it tightly. Now for these nuts, you can't tighten them down all the way. You can't just compress them all the way because you're compressing the stack here, and that's not going to work. Seems to me like these should be Loctited, but they weren't before, and I haven't had any problem with them. I'm honestly not sure why I haven't had any problem with them. Basically, I tighten these down right now until I have a problem with them, and I will put in the comments if I've ever had a problem with them, just so there are a couple threads showing. And because this is very loosey-goosey, it's not a hard, firm mounting point. This is one where as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to re-level this in beta flight. So I'll go in there, hit calibrate accelerometers after I have everything sitting nice and smooth and all together. That will make sure if I have my board unlevel going back in, it's not the same level it was when I took it out. That will sort that out. But there we have a stack. I have added some double stick tape to try and hold the receiver in place a little better so it doesn't just flop around. So this could be interesting. So that red wire is going to be the biggest difficulty here. And if you'll remember, the wires go on the top, which doesn't really matter for fitting this through. But I was doing some experimenting with getting this installed in here. There's not a lot of room to work, not a lot of spare room. And I took the lens cover off. I wanted to protect the screen, but also the lens is smaller without it. I'm gonna see if I can just force this through. If you could get leverage, it would fit through there just fine, but I can't get my fingers in there, and I don't want to just grab onto this board and torque it.
Don't force it. You'll only get in bad. Well, it may stretch, it may not tear it all, but you'll never.
So there I proved my theory. It'll go through there just fine. Put it through the outside just to make sure. Maybe that'll help it size a little better. Maybe I'll just fly it this way. There we go, look at that. That's much better. That achieved my goal of having the camera through, but only just a little bit. Now we'll see if we can get the top wired here. Here's one of the reasons I recorded this my first time through, so you can learn from my mistakes. See that now? I don't know if you can see that, but the square around the camera does not fit. Well, it fits. It's in the square of the canopy, and I can't get it to turn the right way now, and I can't pull it back because the lens won't go through. So when you put this in, make sure it's turned the right direction, because if it's wrong, you might be able to just not fix it. I'm gonna end up trying to twist it, but just do it right the first time. There, it's in. It's a little bit crooked, and it doesn't fit quite as well as the stock or the Nano camera, but it's in there, it works. This red wire, I'm not sure if that's worth it just to get voltage, because that's really a pain. Hopefully I never have to do that again. For now, I'm out of time for this round, and I'll probably sound different again in a few minutes.
Oh, crap. Let's try this again. Here we go. Nice fresh snow. Oh, I already lost it as I was trying to put my hand in my FPV gloves. So let's see if we can take off out. Oh, that doesn't seem like a good sign. I got nothing. No power. Is it because of the snow is packed in too tight? Or is it because... Ah! Get my gloves in. Come back. Shane, come back. Oh, come on. I can't get it to come back. And it's on the ground. Try it in the garage. Yeah. Seems to be more out of balance than anything. I wonder if I had the flight controller crooked when I screwed it back in. But yeah, that's not too bad. Dunked in the snow twice. It's still going strong. Strong-ish. Oh wait. Ish. Although I should try one without any coating on it just to see what happens. I'm not gonna do that today though. Okay, I don't know how well you can see this, but I wanted to check my modes first. That looks good. Rate mode, since I did just do an update, seems prudent. That's okay though. So I was hoping when I originally scheduled this for today, it was going to be actively snowing. I want to see this fly in the snow. We'll have to save that for another day. I keep forgetting, we're also testing this camera, and it looks really good right there. And we have voltage. First one, I actually forgot to record the DVR on my first flight. Trust me, it worked fine. It looked really good. There's my tracks out to get the one earlier. But everything was good. I was really happy with it. Even in the cold, hey look, I can fly. Hey look, Ma. I can fly! I can fly! So I can be out here in the winter if I want to, especially with this. Man, I like this a lot. I plan on flying with this thing a lot. And this camera, so that's another big part of it. The camera, I am really happy with. It looks really good, and I totally would have dumped this in the snow by flying it for like 3 more minutes if I didn't have that voltage. So that worked really well. I was really happy with that. Overall, let's see, I'm going to call both the camera a success. I'm going to call winter flying a success. I'm going to call the gloves a success. The next test that I am most nervous about is this one. Here we go. We're going to say, oops. So, disable, armed, come on, oh, wait, let's flip after over. That at least works. So, one thing I forgot to do is, yep, I forgot to set it so I didn't have to be 180 degrees, which I knew would happen, because there I'm at too much of an angle to take off. We'll see how it is. So you definitely want to set that in the command. I'll put the command down below, or I will forget to put the command down below and somebody else can put it in the comments. Hey, yay, look at that. It's going. It was covered in snow and it's flying. Whoa, so that was weird. Oh, that was low voltage. That camera is, or not the camera, the battery I think is really pissed off that it was in the snow and got really cold. Yep. So battery's the big problem with flying in the winter. But, oh, we can come in for a landing. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna try it again. That works really well. Am I level enough? Oh, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Oh, that's sweet. Yay, I'm so happy. I'm so happy when it works. Too often, my crazy experiments don't work. And this one did. Oh, except it's angry with me about the battery. So I am going to bring it in and call that a success, because my battery's low and I don't want to ruin it. But yay!
Okay, so I've got puddles all over that came out of the quadcopter that was iced just a few seconds ago. And everything inside was pretty well coated. I think the cover would help a lot, especially if you sealed it around, which wouldn't be hard to do, just a little tape on top. You could put some cool racing stripes or something on it. And then you could fly in the snow, which I really hope to do soon. I need some nice big snowflakes to fly through. That would be really cool. And this is going to be the one that I would do it with. But landing it in the snow like I did, there was snow all throughout here. And it still took off and flew again just fine. It was so nice. I know people have been doing this for a long time. I've seen lots of pictures from people with their quadcopters in the snow, but this was my first time, and you know how it is. There's nothing like the first time. I'm sure I will be doing this to some other quadcopters too, so I'm gonna call this a 100% success. Everything worked as well as I could possibly hope and dream. DSHOT worked with the new wire connection and not having to take that pin out. It worked just fine. The new Betaflight worked. The camera was outstanding. It looked great flying out there, and having the voltage totally saved me. I mean, I would have kept flying and I would have crashed it into the ground on that first flight, which you didn't see now that I recall. But yeah, that first flight my battery was pretty well low and I didn't seem like it had been that long, so I would have kept flying and I would have crashed it in the snow. The waterproofing, I'm gonna call it an unqualified success. Everything worked. I put 2 coats on everything and didn't wait. I waited like 24 hours. I don't think you needed that long. It felt really strong and tacky after just a few minutes. So everything was great. Oh, flip over after crash in the snow. Yeah, that worked. I'm just elated. I'm so happy it all works so well. So if you found this useful, surely one of these things was useful useful. Oh yeah, the gloves. I didn't even mention the gloves. There's going to be a separate review for those though. They deserve their own review. So if you found this useful, leave a like and a comment down below and let me know which of these upgrades you want to do. Do you have an ET series, so you need this camera? And if you do have an ET series, you need DSHOT. You definitely need that. Do you fly somewhere where you care and you're going to do the waterproofing? I'm wondering, there are some spray bottles too that I've heard aren't quite as good in the end, but you could skip all this step and just spray the whole thing down. But I've heard that's not as good for the ESCs and it doesn't work quite as well. So I don't know, would you skip this whole process and just get the spray bottle and just spray the whole thing down inside and out a couple of times and call it good? Maybe I'll try that too. I don't know. So until next time, remember, now I'm probably gonna have to do this to a 5-inch.